Good evening. Two big things competing for attention tonight: plunging temperatures and how the government shutdown impacts what we eat. First, the weather. Chief Meteorologist Wayne Mahar just updated the forecast. CBS 5's Tommy Sladak is live in Tully. Ski resorts getting a much-needed round of snow, but now facing bitter cold. We're live at Syracuse's Hancock Airport. The runway a bit snow-covered tonight, the crew's keeping up, and we're always tracking live triple Doppler radar. It's double-team coverage on CBS 5 News tonight. Natalie Brand in Washington with the president's next move on his plan to get a border wall built. And Stephanie Stanovich live in Syracuse, how the government shutdown is impacting FDA food inspections.
We got a caller stating that there's fire coming from the hood of the flip vehicle. Thinks there's possibly someone inside the vehicle. He advised also the occupant of the other vehicle may have ran off on foot.
Good evening. Those were the first calls for help as 911 operators worked to get rescue crews to the scene of a car that was flipped over and burning. Inside, 3 people with ties to Onondaga Community College, and they were all killed. Police say they used dogs to track down the man they believe was drunk behind the wheel and caused the crash. 30-year-old Anthony Saccone of Camillus was arrested at his mother's house nearby. And just in, his family telling CBS 5 they'd like to express their deepest sympathy during this terrible time. They say, "We are all grieving." We have CBS 5 team coverage on the way. Victoria Carmen live at the Public Safety Building in downtown Syracuse. The suspect just going before a judge. Stephanie Stanovich live at the scene of the crash in Onondaga, how the tragedy is hitting so hard at OCC. And we hear from the people who saw it happen. They were on the scene right after it unfolded. It was Valentine's Day, and if you haven't been in a high school in a while, it adds some new perspective to consider exactly what Valentine's Day is like at a typical one. There are flowers and balloons and stuffed animals, and this is what stopped us in our tracks tonight as we pored over the video that was coming from the shooting scene all day. One of the students being led to safety with a giant stuffed animal and a helium heart-shaped balloon. Good evening. 2 breaking stories unfolding right now. A terror plot stopped, authorities say, against a Muslim community outside Binghamton. But first, a teen girl in critical condition. She was shot in Syracuse.
921 Valentine, apartment 2, across of Empire. Caller states a 14-year-old with a bullet hole in her head.
Live to Syracuse's south side, nearly 5 hours after the shooting on Valentine Road. The crime tape is still up as a young girl fights for her life at a hospital. The district attorney tells CBS 5 News the shooting appears to be a tragic accident. And breaking tonight in Islamburg, a hamlet about 45 minutes east of Binghamton. That's the community 3 young men from Greece outside Rochester, along with a 16-year-old, authorities say, are accused of planning to attack. Officials say the young men conspired to use improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, to carry out a plot. 19-year-old Vincent Vetramile of Greece, 20-year-old Brian Colinari of Gates, and 18-year-old Andrew Crystal of Rochester, along with the 16-year-old, are charged with criminal possession of a weapon and conspiracy.
The kid that initially said something to an adult saved people's lives.
And what happened potentially stopped a catastrophic event from transpiring.
We have CBS 5 team coverage on all of these stories. Dan Massinio live in the town of Tompkins in Delaware County, a community stunned by this alleged plot. Megan Coleman in Syracuse right now with a brand new update from police on the shooting. And Mary Keeler also in that Southside Syracuse neighborhood with the people who heard the gunshot go off.
We're following breaking news tonight out of Oswego County, specifically in Fulton. Authorities say a 50-year-old pilot was extracted, taken to the hospital after his small plane crashed in a Fulton neighborhood. Good evening. I'm Matt Mulcahy.
And I'm Megan Coleman. The details just coming into our newsroom minutes ago.
The apartment complex that was the site of the murders of 2 children in Syracuse will be torn down next year. New video tonight for the scene of the crimes. Candles sitting outside the front doorsteps to honor 16-year-old Antonio Gallardo. Signs have also been put up urging an end to violence in our community. Let's get the facts first on CBS5 News at 11. Police responded to an apartment at that intersection at 10:30 last night. The 16-year-old had been shot dead. This is the same area where back on October 10th, 12-year-old James Springer was fatally struck by a bullet fired into a crowd of people. CBS5 was there this afternoon as police busted down a door and raided Syracuse Grocery and Deli. This is directly across the street from that troubled apartment complex. Police won't say if this is somehow connected to the shooting investigation or tell us anything about what they were doing there today. But the victim's mother tells CBS5 she thinks her son was killed in retaliation because he robbed a corner store. Police would not confirm her claims. CBS5's Tara Gibbons is with the Live Eye at Syracuse Police Headquarters tonight.
Well, it is now case closed in the high-profile, devastating car crash involving SU coach Jim Boeheim and a 51-year-old man from Syracuse. Good evening. I'm Matt Mulcahy.
And I'm Megan Cullen. The district attorney has now released a final report revealing 2 contributing factors in that crash. Here's what we've learned today. The findings reveal issues with the car that the victim, Jorge Jimenez, was riding in. It also mentions pedestrian error and confusion that led to the crash that happened on February 20th on 690.
The car Jimenez was riding in hit a patch of ice, lost control, and hit a guardrail. All 4 people inside got out, but only one made it to the safety behind the guardrail. Police say that's when Coach Boeheim was driving toward the car, tried to avoid it, and struck Jimenez. The speed limit on that dark stretch of highway is 55 miles per hour. The black box information from inside Jim Boeheim's car shows he was driving 66 miles per hour. The victim's car, according to the report, was going 67 miles per hour when it lost control. The district attorney says speed, drugs, and alcohol did not play a role in this tragedy.
Police say the victim's car would not have passed inspection for several reasons. 2 of the 4 car tires didn't have enough tread, and the driver and passenger rear marker lights were not working. Windows were significantly tinted, more than what would be considered legal, making it even more difficult to see. We have team coverage for you tonight. Our Mary Keeler's live in Syracuse after talking to friends of the victim. But we begin our coverage with our Tommy Sladak. He's live along 690, laying out the timeline of what unfolded that night.
Good evening. It's the start of a days-long snow event that is already causing trouble on the roads and could cause trouble at the airport. The top left right here, live in Weather Authority 1 in Syracuse's Tipperary Hill neighborhood, a notorious section of town for sometimes cars parked on both sides of the streets. That is not good for the plow drivers. Live overlooking 81 through Syracuse, the roads are plowed, traffic moving well right now. Some visibility issues on the camera there. Also live at Hancock Airport, the crews there doing a good job this evening. And live in the heart of Syracuse in Armory Square, a bit of a slow evening out on the town for anyone who is out there right now. New video from Teal Avenue in Syracuse. A troubled hill in the city, and this evening it was slow going for sure. We just checked in with the 911 center in Onondaga County, which dispatched crews to several disabled vehicles and fender benders, but so far nothing too serious. We're hoping that holds. CBS5 team coverage is on the way. Meteorologist Mike Brookins just updated the timing on the snow totals through Friday. Tommy Sladak with a focus on a plan that fell through to clear miles of sidewalk in Syracuse. Stephanie Stanovich in Weather Authority 1 with the real-time road conditions. And we're always tracking live triple Doppler radar. Good evening. Breaking tonight. At this point, we don't know of one single case where a bomb threat emailed far and wide today did any actual damage. However, the disruption was incredible. Evacuations and sweeps of dozens and dozens of businesses and institutions, and it sent police scrambling. Police in cities all over the country reported the threats. Some of them emailed, others via the phone. In Washington, D.C., authorities called to Wisconsin Avenue. In North Charlotte, North Carolina, several bomb threats reported, some triggering evacuations. In Oklahoma City, authorities responding to at least 9 of the threats. None of them were credible. And in Colorado, at Columbine High School, authorities say nothing was found there to validate the threat that came in. Here's what we know tonight about the impact in Syracuse. The city police department says there were several threats reported today. All of them appear to be non-credible. Syracuse police say those threats targeted schools, law offices, and businesses. They're not naming specific places, but did tell CBS5 that no government buildings were involved. We have a live report from the Syracuse Police Department just ahead. Also, what the Onondaga County Sheriff's Department is saying about the threats, and a copy of the threat a local business owner received today. Breaking tonight, a 13-year-old suspected in the murder of a young girl in Syracuse is under arrest. And a troubled city apartment where 2 teen boys were killed is going to come down. First to the arrest, a 13-year-old charged with manslaughter and criminal possession of a weapon. The boy accused in the accidental shooting death of 14-year-old Maya Killeen. She was shot in an apartment a week ago on Ballantyne Road in Syracuse and later died. Now the scene of the crimes, the apartment house at Park and John Streets on Syracuse's north side. It will be demolished as soon as early next week. 2 teen boys were killed there last year. Neighbors say it's a problem property, and no one has argued with them about that. CBS5 team coverage on the way. Stephanie Stanovich live in Syracuse. New details about the young suspect's arrest. And Mary Keeler with new information as that troubled apartment house is about to meet a wrecker. Amid all of that, a weather alert competes for attention tonight. Some parts of the Midwest are colder than Antarctica. And we will be in the freezer too. Live in Weather Authority 1 on the road in Mansville on 81, the snow picking up in some spots, and now a plan in place that will restrict travel. In 2 hours, tractor trailers and commercial buses will be banned from the thruway from Rochester to the Pennsylvania line. Meteorologist Mike Brookins is tracking the cold and knows just how low the temperatures are about to get. Victoria Carmen with a look at the real-time road conditions, and Dan Massinio spent the day talking about slipping on ice. And there is actually a way you should fall if you're falling. Tonight, the FBI is questioning the Florida man found with a missing teen girl in North Syracuse. He told state police he was here because he'd spent summers in central New York when he was a child, and the people here are nice. Let's see. 17-year-old Caitlin Christina was last seen Saturday at her home in Lake City, Florida, just west of Jacksonville. The search for her, we now know, ended more than 1,100 miles away in North Syracuse. Earlier this week, Caitlin's mother was in tears, begging for her safe return.
Caitlin, if you see this pumpkin, we just want you to know that we love you and we miss you, and we need to know that you're safe. We need to know that you're okay. Please call us, call somebody, let somebody know. We love you and we miss you, and we're waiting here with open arms. Love you.
Caitlin was last seen at her home Saturday night. Her mother found her missing when she went to go wake her up Sunday morning. The parents noticed the window was open, the screen was off. Caitlin's car was there, and so was her cell phone, but it had been erased by doing a factory reset. The man she was with is 27-year-old Ryan Rodriguez. He's a friend of the family and Christina's father's assistant soccer coach at the high school where she attends. Rodriguez has family in Canada, and authorities had reason to believe the two might try to get into that country. Police barracks right now.
The flames are visible. I believe the residents are still in the building.
Ma'am can't respond. I got infant with burn.
Infant with burns. Structure failure 161 Pine Circle.
Breaking now, those are the first calls for help after a fire ripped through a mobile home. 6 people were inside, only 3 made it out. Good evening. There's heartbreak throughout Oneida County as news spreads of the deadly fire. 3 young children killed. Another is in the hospital with her parents.
More than 24 hours after it started, the scene of a Syracuse block fire remains a beast that does not want to be tamed. City firefighters tearing into it once again this afternoon to douse a new hotspot. Hello everyone, breaking news on Syracuse's north side. 4 buildings damaged in yesterday's block fire on North Salina Street will have to come down. Good evening, breaking tonight on CBS5. We have one razor-close race for Congress which appears to be on the verge of an upset. Brindisi over Tenney, and another with the incumbent holding on at this hour in Catco versus Balter. In the 22nd District, Republican Congresswoman Claudia Tenney is in the fight for her political life. Anthony Brindisi with 52% of the vote at this hour to the Republican Congresswoman's 48%. It's been a Brindisi lead all night. Will he declare victory? We're watching Democrat Anthony Brindisi talk to his supporters right now.
I just want to say thank you to all that are here tonight.
Good evening. President Trump used his State of the Union address to call for the construction of a smart, strategic, see-through steel barrier, not just a simple concrete wall along the southern border.
We must choose between greatness or gridlock, results or resistance, vision or vengeance, incredible progress or pointless destruction.
President also taking a shot at the Mueller investigation, calling it a ridiculous partisan investigation. Kenneth Craig live on Capitol Hill.
Well, good evening to you from Capitol Hill.
Good evening, I'm Victoria Carmen. We're following two big breaking news stories as a shocking decision is made and a guilty plea is entered in court. Just hours ago, CBS5 learned after a lengthy suspension without pay, a Syracuse firefighter will be reinstated. Ted Ackerman's job was in jeopardy after his involvement in a late-night deadly drunk driving crash on Syracuse's north side more than a year ago. He's accused of tampering with evidence in an attempt to help former Onondaga County DA investigator Peter Rausch. Rausch struck and killed Seth Collier in March of 2017. Tonight, the city is responding to the shocking decision, telling CBS5 the city firmly stood by its decision to terminate Mr. Ackerman. After a lengthy process, a labor arbitrator ruled with the union and restored Mr. Ackerman to his job. We remain deeply saddened for Seth Collier and for his family. Our thoughts and concerns are with them. And the big story today, the Camillus man accused in a deadly, drunken, high-speed crash that killed 3 people faces up to 30 years behind bars after accepting a plea deal. 31-year-old Anthony Saccone, who was labeled an accused murderer for months, pleaded guilty in court today to lesser charges of impaired driving, aggravated vehicular homicide, and leaving the scene of an accident. CBS 5 team coverage is on the way. Our Dan Massinio is live outside the Onondaga County Courthouse breaking down today's guilty plea. What does this mean moving forward? And CBS 5's Tara Gibbons is live where that crash happened after talking to families still grieving from the tragedy. But first, after 3 days of heavy rain, flooding has arrived, and it's causing a traffic headache for some drivers in Liverpool. We take you live to Onondaga Lake Parkway. The eastbound lanes leaving the village near Hydes, they're now back open after temporarily shutting down from flooding. Now, while the road is back open, there are still flooding concerns that linger through the night.
We begin with breaking news tonight. Exclusive new video just into our newsroom. This shows the moment a man hijacked a AAA truck, leading police on a chase through downtown Syracuse 2 years ago. The music is blasting in the truck as he rams the truck into police cars, and then the police shoot at him, all while putting the entire community at risk. Now, the driver, Christopher Ricks, will spend the next 24 years behind bars. Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy. The judge telling him during sentencing yesterday that it was only by the grace of God no one was killed.
Mr. Ricks attempted to seriously injure many police officers and civilians with an incredibly dangerous instrument of death, a multi-ton tow truck. I mean, it's just only by the grace of God that no one was killed, including Mr. Ricks.
Now, this was back in November 2017. Investigators say Ricks stole the tow truck on North Townsend Street and intentionally tried to mow down police officers during the chase. At least 4 people were hurt. Yesterday, he apologized in court for his actions. Tonight, our Tommy Sladak has a closer look at this video that we just got into the building about an hour ago.
Tonight, fleeing Florence or choosing to face it head on. There are less than 2 days to make that critical decision as the powerful storm threatens 20 million people. It's on track to come ashore along the Carolina coast early Friday. Good evening. It's in the ocean, moving towards the coastline at 17 miles per hour. But its winds have held steady at 140 miles per hour, making Florence an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane. We have CBS5 team coverage on the way for you tonight. Meteorologist Mike Brookins is tracking the storm with new statistics on it just in moments ago. A live look at the path of Hurricane Florence as it barrels towards the Carolinas. CBS 5's Tommy Sladak is live at the airport with the travel worries and an upstate native who is hunkering down to ride out the hurricane. Breaking tonight, they have to be exhausted, and they just changed the narrative from an undeserving squad to a team that just won't quit. The SU Orange moving on to play Michigan State Sunday. Right now, breaking live in Detroit, Michigan at the stadium where the teams are going before reporters. That's Coach Jim Boeheim. We'll listen live right now. Coach Jim Boeheim praising his players tonight after winning over TCU to advance in the NCAA tournament.
Pace of play going to be.
How about that for a scene repeated all over central New York tonight? Excitement at the Orange Cave in Liverpool. This is a house party to end all house parties, a man cave to beat the band. We're going to take you inside for the celebration there just ahead. Good evening. The Mad Thanksgiving Travel Dash is on right now, and we're tracking it from coast to coast. The top left, live in Weather Authority 1 on 81 right now between Tully and Lafayette. Traffic starting to pick up, although the weather is holding right now. We're live at the Thruway tolls off Carrier Circle in DeWitt. Cars passing through right now. A live view on Route 59. That's Houston, Texas. It is a crush of holiday traffic there. And a live look on Interstate 65 where it splits with 70. This is live in Indianapolis. A nice night sky right there. Live to 81 through Syracuse at this hour. Traveling for the holidays will be a little bit better, and not just because there's not a whole lot of traffic in that shot right there. Super cold air is moving into the northeast. Just in time for Thanksgiving morning. It is going to be bitter. Our team coverage just getting started right now. Weather Authority meteorologist Mike Brookins has updated the forecast moments ago. Tommy Sladak is in Weather Authority 1 tracking the real-time road conditions. Stephanie Stanovich along the Thruway with some changes on the horizon to speed up your travels. And Dan Massinio is at the airport with a new layout and the first real test of that complex after the renovation.